Hey friends, this is a very powerful video. I guarantee you it will be the last video on productivity you'll ever need. I consider myself a productive guy, so I can boast that I work a nice job in a nice company, while at the same time run a side hustle like writing online, making videos, and have traveled to over 155 different countries along the way so far as well. All while, again, being a dedicated father of 2 kids. This is a lot of stuff, but I'm definitely not a Superman, so even I consider myself a not really lazy person, so I can do all this because I have built really strong systems, really strong habits, and a really strong way of working that makes me do everything in the absolute best way possible. And that's what I'm gonna share with you in this video. We'll start with goal setting, then we'll move into focus work, and last I'll give you a ton of tips on how to make the most of your focus work periods. It all starts with knowing your destination. So it needs to start with having a clear sense of direction of where do you want to go. So you need to know what you need to do, what you want to do, what do you need to do for work, what you want to do for your side business, what you want to do for any personal project. And better said, you also need to know if you don't have this what and why clear, then everything else we're going to be sharing with you on this video is going to be a house of cards. You need to start with the what you want to do and why. Then you must need to have alignment again with your own self. So being all clear, okay, this is what you want to go, this is your priority, this is what you're going to put all your effort on. And then when you're doing, for instance, something at work where you need to focus your time on, you just need to be also aligned up in the chain of command with your managers, with your managers, so everyone knows that, okay, this is what, for instance, Mario will be doing, or this is what you will be doing. And there are just 2 simple key ways to having good goals. The first one is to make the goals smart. So you have all seen this before, likely, so you need to make your goals specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time limited. Rule of thumb always works. Keep to smart goals. And the second thing, and this is critical, you need to design your goals so you win even if you fail. And this might sound counterintuitive, it's a great idea from Scott Adams. For instance, when it comes to YouTube, my goal is to publish 100 videos. So at least 1 video per week, approximately for a period of 2 years. So this is not about the number of subscribers, this is not about the amount of money I want to make. The goal is to shoot 100 videos. And this is a goal that's entirely in my control. And even if I never make money from this, so even if I never make money from YouTube and I nobody subscribes to the channel, at least I will learn how to speak to camera. I know I speak a little bit fast, but still, it's still better than before. I have improved a lot my communication skills. I learned a lot of different things that I can actually apply to other parts of my life. Regardless what happens, I consider this YouTube experiment already a success. And of course, it would be great that we get the subscribers, we get the money, but at least the whole shebang already works. Taking a step back, going back to SMART goals, right? So for every action that you want to take, or for every project you want to get into, so you need to always look into, is this thing that you want to start aligned with this, big goal that you have? For instance, for me, was it like, is this task X going to help me achieve my YouTube goal? Is this going to help me achieve my work goal at Maersk? If it's not the case, then it's no way around it. You should not do that task. So it's critical that every time you actually go and do something, that thing that you want to do is aligned with, again, the big goal. What I do, for instance, as a rule of thumb, is that every day before I start working, so early in the morning, I write what are my most important tasks or MITs for that specific day. So that's always normally 2 or 3 things maximum. And these are the key things. So no emails, no meetings. It's things like, okay, what I actually need to produce. If I do that, that day will make that a good day. And if I do all my MITs for a whole week and for a whole month and then for a whole year, then things are gonna work very well, right? So again, the key thing is that these MITs and these tasks are linked to things that will help me achieve my big goals. Last on this is that people overestimate what they can do in a day. So they have this huge number of goals for the one they want to do in a day, but people really underestimate what they can do in a month or even a whole year. So if you work just 30 minutes every day on your key objective and do it consistently, again, consistency is the key, magic will happen. We have talked that goals are super important. The key thing here now is like, okay, how do you pick the right goals? We have already talked about SMART goals. We have talked about making goals that are successful even if you fail. But even then, there are good goals and there are bad goals. So it's absolutely crucial that you pick the right goals. So I'll give you a few more tips on picking the right goals. First is that don't work on things that don't matter. So 80% of things don't matter. 80% of the time, people work on things that don't really matter. So, and I quote Tim Ferriss here, where he says that most things make no difference. Being busy is a form of laziness, lazy thinking, and indiscriminate action. It's your job to identify what drives results and work only on that, and ruthlessly stopping any other non-value work. Next up is to work on lead dominoes. So look for things that if you get those things done will make everything else down the line, downstream, easier or otherwise irrelevant. So actions with positive and downstream effects, for instance, can be like, if you need to make a relationship with 100 people, who will help you the most? So who should be that first person that then will make all these other 99 relationships that you need to make a lot easier to build rapport to, so, or to connect, or just make those happen. So again, always look for this lead domino. And last step is to use the 80-20 principle. So the 80-20 principle has been written in depth all over the internet. So just, Google it if you have never heard about it before, right? But like, work on and improve the actions and systems that give you outsized results. So the sales channels that perform best, the products that do the best works, the emails that get the best responses, the presentations that leads to the most desired outcomes. Focus on that. To operationalize all this, one of my favorite mental models is called the productivity pyramid, and I get this from a guy called Eben Pagan, who's an incredible teacher. So first, Eben says that in the productivity pyramid, you have 4 different levels. At the top of the pyramid, you have the high lifetime value things. So things that are priceless over the long term. So we're talking about investing in yourself, which means eating healthy and investing in healthy food, working out, learning new skills, doing a morning routine in case you don't have that yet, developing relationships, spending quality time with people that you love and love you, building personal and business systems. This is where you build the biggest value for your own life moving forward. Next up is the high dollar value things. So these are things that help you stand out at work or bring the cash to your business. And that is most of the times closing deals, creating products, doing highly creative analytical knowledge work. For instance, making negotiation preparation in my case that is very tailored to a specific negotiation with an analysis. So these are very key things, right? And then you have the low value things. So things that you do, and a lot of you likely spend a lot of time of your time doing this, but have little impact on bringing the money. So this is running errands, most meetings, a lot of repetitive tasks, and just doing a lot of things that don't matter. Last, at the base of the pyramid is 0 to negative value. So these are things that add no value or even destroy value in your life. Doing things like this will stress you out. So things, for instance, in my case, like reading the news really just triggers me and pisses me off and like just makes me in a pessimistic mood. So I just try to avoid that completely. So I spend almost no time on social media, even though I'm a YouTuber in a way, so I also try to stay away from that. Long commutes, worrying about things you can't change. So those are all things that give you 0 to negative value. What Eben says is that the world's most elite high performers spend their time only doing high dollar value and high lifetime value activities. Instead of having a pyramid like this, they just flip it around and have most of their time and effort on most of their initiatives going on in the high lifetime and high dollar value, and just outsource or get rid of everything else in the bottom tiers of the pyramid. Easier said than done, but still, like, it's something that you need to keep in mind as well. And like, when you move forward in your career, when you move forward in the days, like especially when you get less time because you get kids or this and that, think like, okay, what can you do to get rid of as many things as possible from the bottom of the pyramid and work where it really matters? Because again, like, you always need to remember that a guy like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, they don't really have more time that you have. They actually still have the same 24 hours in the same day, right? So they just don't run errands, they don't spend time gossiping on Instagram, even though I say Elon is quite a bit on Twitter, you could say lately, but I mean, they really spend most of their time working on high impact problems, and because of that they are very effective. Now, to close the productivity pyramid, I would say, like, for most people working in a normal job in a normal company, things that matter are building stuff and selling stuff. So in corporate, building and selling could be, for instance, preparing a system, preparing a proposal, preparing a key presentation, internal or external, and selling could also be like, selling internally or selling to bigwigs that you actually want to get on board your thing, or actually get actual sales to your product or to whatever you're selling in your company. So all these are key things at the top of the pyramid. And in my job, for instance, as I have mentioned before, it could be like preparing a fancy negotiation, and can be sometimes I have spent like a weeks preparing a very tough analytical model that gets us to prepare our negotiation positions on a negotiation for $100 or $200 or $300 million. So that's, again, time well spent, because again, there's clearly we have leverage there. So it could be the same for you as well. So it can be, for instance, also in my work to design a very tailored go-to-market strategy. So these are things, again, that high impact work, everything else, not so much. What is definitely not at the top of the pyramid is meetings and emails. So I'll give you some suggestions on how you handle meetings, so you actually have more time to work on things at the top of the pyramid. When meetings, always have an agenda. So if someone invites you for a meeting without an agenda, reject the meeting and ask for the agenda. Again, people need to have a plan. Again, of course, if your big boss sends you a meeting and say, hey, I want to meet you and don't have agenda, okay, you need to be tactful on that. But almost everyone else, just reject the meeting and say, hey, what is the agenda? What do you want to discuss? And most of the times you can avoid the meeting if you can. For a lot of the times, people reach out for a meeting, when most of the times a quick call, if needed, or an email will actually do the job. The rule of thumb, if someone wants to meet you for a meeting, try to have a call. If someone wants to have a call, try to have a short email exchange. And if people want to have a short email exchange, most of the times that email exchange is not even necessary at all. Last on meetings is that you should always try to finish meetings early. So if you need to take a meeting, just be strict on keeping to the agenda and finish off early if you covered all points. Absolutely everyone in the world I have met so far loves finishing meetings early. So if you are the type of person who finishes meeting early, you will be definitely a lot more popular at work. Then when it comes to emails, just watch to the end of the video where I'll just go hands-on on a lot of tactical advice on how to handle email better. Last point on this productivity pyramid is that you should avoid the bottom of the pyramid like it would be the plague. So for instance, what I do myself, and I explain in one of my videos, I will be somewhere linked over here, is that I have a not to-do list. So it's something that basically like I just make sure, in the same way that there are certain things that you should try to do every day, there's also certain things you should try not to do every day. And again, in my case, means, as I mentioned before, not watching the news, not using social media as well, and so on. When you have something like this, it might offend some people, be a bit heavy-handed like this, but again, it works. And the moment you start driving results, people will respect you for that. Okay, now you have certain MITs that you say, okay, we're gonna be working on this 1 or 2 things each day, and this is the things that you outline at the beginning of the day, that is your key objective for that day. And luckily, you have already seen the productivity pyramid. You see that these are big things that are at the top of the pyramid, so things that will make the highest impact to your business or to your work. The way you make those things happen, the ways you make these MITs happen and not just, go into the whirlwind, is that you need to set apart like at least 60 to 90 minutes a day, at least. So where you actually only work on those key tasks, just that. The way you operationalize this is that you should identify which is your peak flow time. So you look at your day and see, okay, which is the time of the day you're consistently more focused and have more energy. So for instance, it's my case, it would be between 8:30 in the morning and 10 in the morning. So that's where I have normally the highest energy. That's where I want to get something done. I normally get it done. And I have friends, of course, speaking afternoons, I'm late in the evening. Sometimes now with the kids, I'm actually peaking a lot earlier, like between 5 and 6 in the morning. Different, depends person to person. But then the key is that you should work on your highest value opportunity during your peak time. So if it's 8:30 to 10 like me, so that's where you start working on this biggest opportunity. In that case, like me, I just don't open the email during that period. I don't go to meetings, or I reject meetings. And for this short period of 1 hour and a half, I only work on the top of the pyramid and on this most important task. And I do this consistently over many weeks and many months, and then hence good results. Now, when I have said that I have identified this period from 8:30 to 10 that really thinks, this is where I need to work on my things, I only work fully focused. I protect this peak time. As I said, like I don't check emails, I don't accept meetings as well and so on. I just have my phone off in a way. I turn all notifications. I have this focus mode that just puts like straight into a point, and I just zoom in on the key thing at the time. So of course you can't be fully focused for too long. So normally, like I would say, after 45 to 50 minutes of working non-stop, you should take a 5 or 10 minute break, and then you can go back to work fully focused. But again, the key is to never be in the gray zone. So when you're in these focus periods, you're either fully focused, like 100% relentlessly focused, or you're fully resting, meaning that you're just zooming out and just chilling whatever time you need to recover. For this, you can use, for instance, the famous Pomodoro system, but there are many alternatives. For instance, I like to work with this work cycles template that the guys from Ultra Working put together. There's going to be linked down to Ultra Working in the video description, but I mean, this is something that works for me, but again, for you, it might be something else. There's a lot of apps that help you work fully focused. Okay, we have made it to the middle of the video. If you're enjoying so far, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I would love to do more videos like this on productivity and high performance. So, I mean, I'm really passionate about it. So hopefully I can share more of this with the world. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. And now, what we have seen so far is that if you know your destination and you work on the top of the pyramid and do so fully focused, you'll be ahead of around 90 to 99% of all other people. Again, all you need is just that 1 or 2 hours a day to work on those key things. What I'm gonna do now is that go into the tactical thing. From now on, it's like, how do you make sure that when you work on this 1 or 2 hours a day, and ideally it would be 3 or 4, but like let's imagine, keep it simple for you, just 1 or 2 hours. How do you make sure that when you have those focus periods, you enable yourself to thrive and produce as much as possible in, again, just that little bit of time? Because even if you just have 1 or 2 excellent periods of focus work per day and do it again consistently, you'll be good. That's literally all I work, literally. So again, I have 2 kids and I spend a lot of time playing with the kids, and I travel a lot, and I have job and YouTube as well and so on. I literally run this channel with less than 4 hours a week, and that's again because I have really embraced this way of working. When I get my little bit of time to work on this, it's intensely focused. So now we'll touch on how you can create this intense focus, how you can actually do things faster, so you actually work a lot faster than other people, and how you just make overall things easy for yourself to get things done. And also finish, as I said that I promised before, with some email tips. Okay, now then, how you increase your energy and focus. So you need to have more physical, emotional, and mental energy to increase the quality and quantity of your focus work. Again, the way you do it is by consistently keeping good habits. The list of habits which will be very boringly familiar. Sleep well, so we're talking about 7 to 9 hours per night in a comfy bed with comfy pillows, ideally in a cold, dark, and quiet room. And if you need to wake up with a ringer, again, like the rule of thumb is that you're not sleeping good enough. Ideally, you should be able to wake up without a ring. That's when you know that, okay, you're very well rested. Next up, up is that you should always try to switch off. So for instance, myself, I don't use internet and I absolutely don't check my social media or work email or whatever between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. on weekdays. So again, like the idea for you would be that the first hour after you wake up, no stimulation, no social media, no news, no nothing. Again, just keep to yourself. Also, ideally, that's the first hour before you go to bed. Next up is that you should work out. So even 20 minutes a day is enough. So again, exercise and sleep are the two, let's say, ultimate high performance drugs. I mean, I know they're not a drugs, right? But there's nothing that would actually get you more energy and more focus than, again, sleeping well and working out. So again, the benefits of regular exercise are just so big that it's just an insanity not to regular exercise. And then eat well and high quality food. So I mean, the most simple and raw organic food that you can get. So again, don't get a lot of processed food. Meditate if you don't do that yet. So meditation is like a focus practice. And again, like when it comes to mindfulness meditation, it's not so woo. It's all about, again, putting your focus muscle in practice. So when you actually need to have this 1.5 hours of full focus to do something, you are practicing enough not to get distracted. And the last point is just to avoid friction. Even though it's not a habit, it's just this mentality of saying, okay, what are the things that irritate you? Which are the things that trouble you in the, like, say, in the background? So if you're in a bad relationship, or you live in a place that you can't stand, or you work in a job that you hate, or you have money problems, or you have like an untreated health issue, you should work before you start working on anything else. Just try to fix that, because those things will drag you down otherwise. Then you need to focus on speed. I am obsessed with speed, and I think you should be obsessed with speed as well. So you should learn to embrace any process, technology, or whatever that will actually help you work faster during your focus periods. Again, the idea is that things should try to be as frictionless as possible. I mean, frictionless is the name of the game. And again, it's worth to spend time and money on effort on this. I run, again, as I said, my YouTube channel in as little as 4 hours a week. And again, the YouTube channel means also my online business, running newsletters and selling online courses. Again, that's just 4 hours a week. And one of the ways I made this easier for myself is that I bought the fastest hardware and software that I could afford. So just by having the setup I have, I can actually save myself 10 to 20 minutes a day. I mean, that's enough of a big deal to guarantee that this money well spent. I have contracted the fastest internet possible in my neighborhood, again. And then just look at this overkill desk. This is something straight from 2022. So it's something that lets me film videos like this, one after the other, in like 30 minutes or less. I mean, this is a bit long video part, but normally I can actually film 2 or 3 videos within like 1 hour tops. Again, like a whole course that I then go and sell for a decent amount of money in just a few hours or a few days. So if you're thinking of buying something, if you can justify it will actually save you a lot of time, then it's a good investment. If you can justify that whatever you think you're going to do will actually help you increase your speed, do it. So we're talking about fast computer, fast phone, fast reading device, fast internet connection, and so on. And I even use some of my own personal devices for my work in Maersk because they're just faster. So I know it's a bummer to pay out of my own pocket for work in my company, but hey, if I can do things faster, then I have more time to work on my personal projects or to spend with my family. So it's happily well spent. A few more tactical things on how to increase your speed is also to increase your typing speed. So if you spend a lot of time in your computer, like most people do in an office space, and can type faster than 80 words per minute, you're losing valuable time. So you should increase your typing speed. You can practice in the website 10 fast fingers, for instance. You should also learn keyboard shortcuts. So you should at least know how to use keyboard shortcuts in the email apps that you normally use at work, and also in Word and Excel and other key programs in your daily life. So you just don't use your mouse or trackpad too much. Then something that is unappreciated, you should use text expansion tools. And this is the idea of having a tool that will transform a short string of text in a big string of text. So there's something called ATExt, so there's something called Text Expander, and then of course there's something built in straight into the iPhone and the iPad, and sometimes in the Windows computer as well. You, for instance, just put, like as I do here, that just put comma and T, and then just replaces it to, hey, I'm currently super busy and I can do a meeting right now. I suggest that you reach out to me later in the month or we can arrange something. Cheers. Again, like you do this and do this as well on top of improving your typing speed. You save a few minutes each day, and if you save a few minutes each day, those things compound. So to put into perspective, I can write, because of all this, between 15 to 20 emails within 5 or 10 minutes of work, depending on the length of the email. Again, like this is because I can do all these things fast, and you should be able to do it too. Again, it's not something that is incredibly crazy to do. Then you should make things easier to work. So the rule of thumb is that you should always have at least 3 or 4 high value things you could be doing in your periods of focus work. So when it comes to photos of your work, you are not just struggling to find what you should do. So for instance, it can mean, in my case, to have like 3 or 4 scripts that you could be writing, 2 or 3 sales calls you could be preparing yourself, or 1 or 2 pieces of code you'll be working on, and so on. Again, some people prefer to have one thing at a time. In my case, I prefer to be writing like 10 scripts at a time, or reading like 10 books at a time. And again, that's because there's always one that I can pick up. And that's because depending on the day there is, and depending on the energy you have that day, you might feel for more one thing than another thing. So you might feel that you will feel like writing this script, or writing that script, or preparing this analysis model, or preparing this negotiation thing. So the idea is that when you have multiple things you can work on, again, that are all aligned to your big goal as well, let's not forget about that, you can just make sure that kind of thing syncs with your mood of the day and then push your things forward. And to illustrate this, just look at my video pipeline here in Notion. I have a lot of videos as I'm working on, as you can see here, at different stages of maturity. So we have ideas, we have research, we have scripts. And if I have just 60 minutes, I might just pick one of these and just go and write that. Which one I'll work on depends on which is the type of mood I have, but there's always something. And I like personally Notion because this is an app that I can also use to collaborate with other people. That can be with my video editor, it can also be with someone that can help me write scripts as well, and so on. But again, you don't need to use Notion if you don't want to. For instance, like what I also use myself in my other parts of my personal life, I use Obsidian, which is my default note-taking app, both for personal and work projects. And I also have built Kanban boards that look like this, also in Obsidian. And yeah, I would love to do more videos perhaps on note-taking in the future and all this kind of crazy system I have built on this. So again, if you have not subscribed to the channel, do that. And of course, if this is something that you find interesting, leave a comment in the video. Last are my thoughts on email. And rule of thumb is that I consider emails doing work for other people's agenda. So for most people, email is not a focused, high leverage work. Again, this will change depending on your seniority perhaps, but unless those emails directly translate into new products or new sales, email is not critical. Hence 2 rules in my case is that you should not do emails when you're focused periods. So again, when there's this key moment, you should not be focused on doing emails, and you should not do emails until after you have defined what are your most important tasks for the day. So those are my 2 key rules of thumb. Instead, what I suggest for most people is that you should batch email into different periods. So you, for instance, you can be between 1 and 2, you book yourself in a calendar and that's your email time. You can have it like 2-3 times a day depending on what you do, but again, nobody will die if you take 30 minutes to reply an email. Now, when it comes to how to do email better, so again, my rule of thumb is focus on speed. If you write fast and use keyboard shortcuts and do a lot of things, you can actually send dozens of emails in just 1 hour. So I can easily write, again, as I said before, 5 to 10 short replies per minute. So I mean, this is pretty crazy, but again, not something that is out of the area for a lot of people. And then myself, I like to process email with an inbox zero type mentality. So the idea is that I achieve emails after replying the emails, I snooze unimportant ones, and if something will take a long time and it's critical, I just snooze it and then add it to my to-do list instead of just clapping it in my inbox. And last, as it's 2022 now, don't folder or label emails. If it's something important, just use search instead. It's just super easy. Okay, and honestly, now you do all this and believe me, life will be good. This is of course just scratching the surface on high performance and productivity, but hey, I hope it really helps. To force yourself to do something like this and slowly start integrating things like this into your life, I recommend you to watch this video here where I go through the lights habit tracking system. I explain that in depth in that video. Thanks for watching and I hope you like this video. Talk to you again next week.